Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, additions to the agenda tonight, I have one. We have the fireworks contract for this year's town picnic that I'd like to add. Anybody else have anything? Okay.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Moved and seconded to add the fireworks contract under new business. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay. I have no remarks. Open public comments on agenda items only. Seeing none. Guests, our auditors will not be here tonight. So Brad from Vernon Home, come up and give us a project update. I think everybody got a mailer yesterday.
Yep.
Come up and take one of these lovely orange chairs.
Thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it. I'm Brad Ellis. I'm the executive director for Vernon Homes. We are a long-term care organization here in the town of Vernon. I've been there working there for over 20 years now. 17 of those years as executive director. And tonight I'd like to present to the boards some plans that we have, and we're hoping that the select board in the town of Vernon will be supportive of what we're hoping to do with our facilities. But before I do that, I do want to mention that we have been providing long-term care in the town of Vernon now for 99 years. So next year we'll be celebrating 100 years of service in the town. We're looking forward to that. We have nursing care, we have assisted living, and we have independent living on our campus in Vernon. Part of our success over the years, we've been innovative. It's helped with our longevity as an organization. Back in the 50s, they bought our current campus and built up the continuum of care that we now have. Yeah, especially in our nursing home, we've done things like one of the first to do restraint-free, one of the first in the country to do Alzheimer's care. Back in the 80s, we also introduced therapy services, and we converted what was our Vernon Hall, which is now our assisted living, was originally just congregate housing. We converted that to assisted living. In our nursing home, we have what we call our Nashama program. That's a multi-sensory program for those who are at end-stage dementia, and that's been a very successful program. And most recently, we've started a strong outpatient service, so we do a lot of outpatient rehab there at the nursing home. So we've been innovative in the way we provide care, both internally on our campus, but also within the community. So we've been very fortunate that after 99 years, we're still going. But one other thing I want to mention is we're recognized for the quality of care that we give. If you go to the CMS's Nursing Home Compare website, it's a federal website. We're a 5-star rated facility. That's one of the best ratings you can have. So we rate well with the federal government. And then several years now, we've been recognized by the state of Vermont with the Nursing Home Quality Award. So we provide a high level of quality care at our nursing facility. And on our campus, we serve about 120 individuals, elders, with about 90 full-time equivalent staff. So in total, it's about 120 full-time, part-time, but 90 FTEs. The reason I'm here is our nursing facility is aging. It's was built in the 70s, and it was built under the institutional model, so it has centralized nurses station, it has double-loaded corridors, shared bathrooms, shared rooms. It's just an aging dinosaur. And I think we all know that most people have no desire to go and live in a nursing home. It's not a preference. And we understand that, we get that. That's why we try to do a number of the things that we do to make our nursing facility open and welcome. But we think we can do better. And we know if we don't change the way nursing home care is provided, we're a melting ice cube. We will slowly put ourselves out of business, because the baby boomers who are now making decisions for their parents and will be making decisions for themselves will not accept nursing home care the way it's provided today. It's antiquated, and so we're hoping to change. And as somebody mentioned, we have some flyers out there. So let me tell you a little bit what we're hoping to do. The model of care that we hope to provide is called the greenhouse model. It changes the environment. So instead of having one institutional building, we will have 6 small houses. Each house will have 10 residents. So we'll take our 60-bed license capacity from our nursing home and transplant that into 6 10-bed houses. We change the resident care. No longer will it be directed by the staff and the nursing. It will be resident-directed care. So the residents will be able to direct how their care is provided. For example, if a resident all their life get up at 11 o'clock in the morning, why can't they still get up at 11 o'clock in the morning and not have to get up because breakfast cart is coming down the hallway at 8:30 in the morning? They should be able to get up at 11, so the care will be resident directed. We're going to change the way staffing works. Right now, most traditional nursing home staffing is top down. And we want to change that so the staff that are closest to the residents, that's the caregivers, are making some of the day-to-day decisions about how the care for the resident happens. So we want to change the way the care is given and the responsibility of the caregivers. Currently, there are 28 states that have greenhouses in them, and there's a total of 300 greenhouses across the country in 28 states. They've been they started about 15 years ago, and they have shown a success of financial viability. They've been financially successful, and we would be the first in the state of Vermont if we're able to do this. So we have submitted our letter of intent to the Green Care Board, and that begins the certificate of need application. And we'll be having conversations with them exactly what is needed in that application. We will be completing over the next few months. And that also starts the Act 250 permitting, so we'll be working on that. So I just want to also identify some of the team that we'll be working with. We have an architect. They're an individual, a firm out of New York State. They've already built a couple of greenhouses, one in Rhode Island and one in New York. And I think they're currently building one in Colorado. So they have experience building greenhouses. We're going to work with Stevens and Associates out of Brattleboro. They'll be doing our site and civil work for us here. We have identified a general contractor, and we're also working with Weston and Sampson. They've been working with us with our current water and wastewater systems on campus, so we'll continue to work with them. We have a financial planner that is working with us. Capital Care is the name of the organization. We're looking at a USDA loan to finance this project. And we've worked with government loans in the past, so this is not new to us. And we think that will also be a good relationship. Larry Knowles, whom many of you know, will be working with us to do a capital campaign. And we'll continue to work with our current marketing people who have helped us over the past 10 plus years. So we put a good team together. Everything that we've done, the assessments we've done, the financial feasibility models that we've done, seems to indicate to us that this will be successful. So we're at the point, the flyers have gone out. I wanted to meet with you to let you know where we're at, what we plan to do. And as far as time frames, we're hoping to break ground in 2020, about a year from now, and do a move-in in 2021. So we're about 2 years out from hopefully completion of this project. And that's kind of phase one. And once we're done replacing our nursing facility, which really needs to be replaced, we hope to continue with development of our Stebbins Road property and build independent living down on that campus. So stay tuned for that, but that's a kind of our long-range goal, is to continue to develop down there as well. So, and we're hoping to get the support of the town and the select board in this project. So, any questions that you might have?
Where are these buildings going?
We feel we can fit them on our current campus. So there's the field out in front, and we would also tear down the old administrative home, the house that Larry lived in for years. So.
This be an expansion of 60 residents, or
No, it just
you can maintain 120?
it would replace our current 60 beds.
Okay. Thanks.
Gene, questions? Very good. I have a question that's kind of unrelated, but it is all at the same time. Greenhouse must be an industry term. What does it mean?
Well, the industry term would actually be small house.
Okay.
Greenhouse is a trademark, so of a small house. So they set a standard of what the size of the houses should be, how care is provided, and you know, the size of the rooms. It's all private rooms, private bathrooms. You know, that there is a living area and a dining area, how the staff work within the houses. So there's a standard set by the greenhouse, and we would follow that standard. So we also have been in a relationship with them. They have been in to do some assessments of us as an organization. They've also done some staff training with us, so we are actually even today trying to begin this cultural transformation of our mindset, how care is provided for. So greenhouse is a trademark name, and the model is small house. So.
Okay.
How would this work with your Alzheimer's one?
That's an excellent question, Chris. One of the standards of greenhouse is to age people in place. So once they're in a house, the intention is not to move them again, but they would stay there. So initially out of the gate, what we would do is take the 20 residents that are on our Alzheimer's unit and put them in two of the houses. But over time, as people age and pass on, we would replace those individuals with other residents, and so it would eventually kind of change the makeup of the house. But initially, we would just transfer the residents into a house.
Anything else?
Yeah. This is really timely.
It doesn't work, just.
Oh, this is really timely, look at the hair. And I've been doing a lot of research about retirement homes for 10, 15 years out. But that's not, my question is, would you be hiring more staff? What kind of economic impact would it have, or influence would it have on for us in the town would, you know, because we could always use more revenue for taxes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'm using the right words, but.
No, that's an excellent question. The way the model is set up, we wouldn't be hiring, our labor costs would not increase. It's just a transfer of labor costs to different roles and responsibilities. So as an example, the LNAs become more of a universal worker. There is a set standard where their part of our plan would be to give them a rate increase, so there would be a step up in their hourly rates. But they would become a universal worker. So instead of having housekeeping staff and laundry staff and dietary staff, there would be training for these the nurses' aides to become an individual who could do all of those duties and responsibilities. So there would be eventually some trade-off in some of the labor hours needed for housekeeping, laundry, and dietary staff. And those labor hours would be shifted into the universal hours. So there would be no real increase to the total the labor expense. So, that was an excellent question.
Here, Brad. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And just my last thing, the invitations have been sent out, so I think it's Tuesday evening, the 30th. We would invite everybody to come, and there's a bigger presentation. We've got a PowerPoint, and we'll go into more detail with some of the questions that could be asked. So, love to see everybody there.
Okay.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you.
Brad.
Approval of regular meeting minutes of April 2nd.
The only thing that I saw was open public comments and treasurer with the S on it. Assistant treasurer. I can't really find it. So I move that we accept the minutes of Tuesday, April 2nd as corrected.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the minutes of April 22nd as corrected. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Bills and warrants.
I move that we authorize payment of the following warrants. 20T, accounts payable, $165,520.79. 13S, payroll, $8,515.98. And 14S, payroll, $7,828.96.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the bills and warrants as read. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Pay as you throw and loss. Come on up, Cindy. I'm just finding your email. So the count that was, we've done 3 inventory counts, is that right?
Correct.
At this point? And the first and the second were
Right on.
right on. In the third one, we were short 14 cases.
Correct.
Okay. So my first inclination is to think that it was accounting error, you know, at some point. What is your first thought in that?
Well, my first thought was that somebody stole them.
Yeah.
That's why I reported it to the police.
Mm-hmm.
Because when Tim and I went over and counted them on February 28th, we were spot on.
Okay.
We took into account what we had from the first count, what was taken out, and it was spot on.
Mm-hmm.
we went back over on April 3rd to do another count, and we took what we had on April 28th, subtracted out what was taken out, and we should have had 127 cases of large, and we had 113. Tim and I counted them numerous times, and then we asked 2 people from the highway department to come up and count for a fresh set of eyes. And they did, and they got the same thing we did. And then I believe Tim and Deputy Whittle went over and counted, and they got the same thing again. So after the count that I did with Tim, and then the highway guys did too, I went over and explained to Jean what was going on and told her I was going to contact the sheriff's department to report them missing. So that's what I did.
Okay. I know we haven't had an inventory up until recently. Is there a way for us to take a look and see what we originally had? And I know we had given away bags and things like that when we first started this program. Be able to remove that, be able to see how many we've sold thus far, which we should have an accounting for, and how many that we've purchased, to be able to determine what our inventory should be right now based on what we've purchased in total, because we've made 3 purchases of bags. So we should be able to take those 3 purchases, take everything that we've sold out, and then everything that we've given
It'd be
away.
very time consuming, because I'd have to go over the last three years. Well, this is the 3rd year. It would be time consuming, because I would have to go pull out all of the sheets from everyone and go over them. I mean, I can, absolutely, it can be done, but it's not something that can be done, you know, within a few days.
Yeah, I understand it's gonna take some time to do. I think that's what we really need to do, and select board comment if you agree or disagree, so we can understand whether this is an accounting error or whether we have a theft situation or where we are with the program as a whole too.
The fact remains, whether we do that and find out, I mean, we can do all that, absolutely. But the fact remains that there's 14 cases less over there than there was when we counted it the last time. That's not gonna change that.
How many times did you count them the last time?
How many times did we count them last
Did
time?
you counted them once between you and Tim,
Tim
you
and
got
I
a number.
counted them. We went back over and counted them 3 or 4 more times. I got the same numbers. I then came back and I called the highway department.
I'm sorry, I'm talking about the original number that you had, and then you guys went back again.
Okay, Tim and Heather Frost got the original numbers. Then Tim and I went back over at the April 28th and counted them, and we took, he has a paper over there that he writes down anytime he takes them out. We took what we had from what Heather and Tim counted, subtracted what was taken out and what we should have, and then we counted them, and that's exactly what we had. So then, I mean, it was right spot on. So then when we went over this time, somewhere along the way, 14 cases are not there that were there.
So you don't think that it's possible that those were miscounted at some point?
I don't believe so.
I mean, because I went over there one day and I tried prying windows open, they all have screens in them, I tried reefing on that garage door. There's only a limited amount of keys to that building, so either one of the key holders helped themselves, but I have a real hard time believing that 14 cases walked out of that building. So I'm inclined to believe that it's a counting error somewhere. And I know you're saying that you weren't a part of that, so I mean that,
Well, I was a part of the second one.
the second one, but I'm saying prior to
The second
that.
and third, I was part of. The first one I was not, because
So,
Heather Frost went over.
I'm just leaning towards that being a miscalculation
So you
somewhere along
think
the way.
twice they counted wrong? And so,
I don't know how you guys are counting them, to be honest. If you're just going in there and counting cases and we're having problems with doubled up bags and I mean, there's a lot of things there's just been a lot of variables that have come to the surface over the last 2 months
well,
about
we
this.
count the cases, how many cases are on each pallet.
I understand that, but we're being billed by what, the bags, right?
We're billed by the cases.
But that's by a certain number.
50 rolls in a case.
Right, but then when we get the cases that have additional bags in it, that's, all of that stuff is gonna skew our numbers somewhere.
Yeah, but it's not gonna change the number of cases that were over there. They didn't jump out and jump into another box. I mean, they're not, it's not gonna change the number of cases, and the cases are not open, they're closed until they're put into circulation. So, whether or not there's extra bags in a case or short bags in a case, that's not gonna count as far as when we're counting at the North School. Because we're just counting each case.
Okay. I still don't see where 14 cases up and walks out of there, but maybe I'm wrong.
Jeff?
So, the storage has been locked right all along,
As far as we know, whenever,
unless somebody didn't lock
unless
it
somebody
back
didn't
up.
lock it and someone went in, but then,
But
but that we know of, it's always been locked. Whenever Tim's gone over, the door's been locked. When we went over to count that day, the door was locked.
Yeah, when you found it, okay.
Yeah.
How many people do have access with a key?
Well, I know Tim has a key.
Yeah.
Seth Dio has a key.
Yeah.
Tim told me JJ Wielden has a key. And then I believe Michelle has a key.
No, my key's with JJ.
Oh, JJ's got the key, okay.
Yeah, JJ has the key to get to the Rocks Hall for the
Okay, so
sidewalks.
3 then.
Nobody at the town garage has one?
No.
Well, I mean, in January, it sounds like multiple people did a thorough count of how many cases and had 127. And again, there's a very thorough count later. But I mean, obviously, to your knowledge, well, how does it work, for example, like somebody that does have access to it? And are they supposed to tell you or Tim or somebody ahead of time before they take them, or how does that work?
Well, the only person other than Tim everybody that sells bags gets their boxes through Tim except for Seth Dio. And Seth lets us know. Tim, we do have a paper over there now, you're supposed to write how many you took and what size you took.
Yeah.
And we compare that. So, but for everybody else, for the stores, for my office, for Tim's office, for the library, that Tim is the one that gets the bags for those people.
Yeah, I realized to do a count back would take some extra time. I do think it would be of value to at least get a better handle on how the process has worked for several years.
Okay.
But again, I would encourage doing what Josh has suggested and going back. But it's not a real time critical thing, so.
Yeah, because right now is not gonna be the easiest time for us to do it, because taxes are due in less than a month. So we're
Right.
gonna be extremely busy. And, so, I mean, we can definitely work on it, but it's gonna be a little difficult during this period of time.
Okay, thanks.
Can we put well, before the end of the fiscal year? I mean, we're halfway through April at this point, so if we can have that inventory before the end of the fiscal year, that would be extremely helpful.
We certainly will make our best effort to do that.
Okay, because that should tell the tale. I mean, if your numbers all come down to exactly what we have in the garage, then as unlikely as it seems right now, somebody screwed up counting at some point. But if it doesn't, if they don't match and you are 14 cases short, when you do your inventory from top to bottom, then we have an issue. Right now, I have a tendency to believe, to agree with Chris that there was a counting issue at some point. Don't know how. I'm assuming those boxes and cases are stacked crossways and sideways and everything else, so they got to be a pain to count on a pallet. But that inventory will essentially tell us whether we have what we should have or there is possible theft. At this point, just for the public to understand, we've put a padlock on that door, so the keys that were out there have no value at this point. So you can't get back in there without that key to the padlock. And there is only one key to that padlock at this point.
Deputy, I probably can't ask you anything about that investigation or anything, can I?
It's still ongoing.
Thank you.
Okay. I
And
think
we
that's
get
it.
that, and I know that when you do this, it's going to be time consuming and a pain in the butt for you. When you do your breakout, could we see that entire breakout start to finish? Instead of just an end, a
Oh, yes,
beginning and an end
absolutely.
number, thank you.
Absolutely.
Gene, do you have anything?
No.
All right, thanks, Sydney, appreciate it. Sac Road issues. So we got an email from Cynthia Hill, which is in your packet, that showed some damage due to erosion on the Sac Road site. We also got an inquiry from Mike Brooks regarding a popped tire from Sac Road. You'll see the bill in there for that, up for $21 to fix his tire. Where's David? David's here. David, come on up. Let's get this going. This is a recurring theme every 2 to 3 years. And so this is the song that never ends. How do we make it end?
I haven't seen the email,
Okay.
so.
Are you aware of the issue on Sac Road though?
Hope called me, Hope Brooke called me about tire. March 15th, there was a message at Town Garage. I went out and I checked the road.
The message was from Cynthia, the same person
Yep.
that sent the email?
Yep.
Okay, so you were aware of it? You
Yep.
just didn't get the pictures from her?
And I went out and checked the road. That's when it warmed up and didn't freeze back up. The road was soft. So I decided not to go out with anything to make the road worse. Just drove out, turned around at the end, came back. Did that 4 times. Saturday, I went out there again and checked. Everything was staying. And when I went out there the first time, it was already on the edge of the road, but it just stayed right there the whole weekend. And we dealt with it Monday.
Okay.
March 18th sounds about right to you
Yep.
on that? Okay.
Yep, because Hope called me on the 19th. So Monday when we put the stone out there and all that.
Okay. So I know we have a ton of residents here from Sac Road because I can see you. If I don't typically allow public comments during the middle of a meeting, but since this has everything that has to do with you guys, I don't know how to fix this for you. I know this has been an issue for years. And I know that not everyone on the road is willing to cooperate to fix it the right way as well. And without that full cooperation, there is absolutely nothing we can do to change the way the road lies.
And you also gotta remember, some of it had to do with this winter and how it warmed up.
Yep. Yep. Anybody from Sac Road want to make a comment?
Yeah.
If you can come, stand right in front of Brana, that would be really great, so we can get you on we can make you famous and get you on BCTV.
I'm Scott Castine, I'm a resident up there as well.
Nice guy.
And I understand there's a 40-foot variance requirement for the road, is that correct? And that's why this can't get straightened out properly? Is that part of the issue? Who can grant a variance to that? So no one's ever gonna give up property to allow 40 feet, but there are sections like that section in question that can be fixed.
We actually shortened it up the last time, Scott, and I can't tell you off the top of my head what it was.
But there is a variance that can be proposed and potentially adopted. Instead of worrying about the entire road, there are certain sections, which this is now a health, life safety issue. There weren't cones placed out immediately, and these guys got a lot of work to do. I'm not placing blame, but where it washed out, within 2 feet of that it's soft. If an oil truck goes down through there, now it's a town liability if that thing tips over. Catch basins and structures with underground pipe that go to the wetlands, eliminate all this wash-in of that section. If we can, it doesn't have to be done as a whole. That's the worst part of the road. There are upper road sections that may be dealt with differently. A couple of years ago, we had a walkthrough up there with the neighbors to do just that, have constructive ideas before we got into a grand plan. It was mentioned that maybe we don't put any money into a survey until we discuss those issues. However, they went ahead with another survey. Nothing came of it other than a bill. The town paid the bill for a survey, not knowing what the potential fixes to these areas are. I think it needs to be looked at in part. That section can certainly be fixed with catch basins, underground pipe, trap hoods to keep stuff out. He knows how it works.
The state's not gonna allow us to put underground pipe, not with the new stormwater rules.
So what will they allow? It's the
We'll
town's
have
road
to-
and it's the residents' problem. There's
We'll
gotta be
have to
some
dig the-
resolution.
Bank back and put stone in, just what they're calling for, because they want the water to go back
Back into,
the ground. They don't want it flowing off.
it's gonna fall off. It's a drainage ditch. So maybe
Yeah.
we get a rep from the state down here to walk the road and see what's possible. That's just one stretch. There's a lot of variables up through there. And it seems like the width of right-of-way is causing some of the bone of contention. And again, I don't know that we're ever gonna get a fix to the entire road, but there are variances that can be allowed to change things. In other words, if it was arbitrarily a 40-foot right-of-way, that can be amended for specific conditions. This is one of them. Maybe we fix that section. Maybe up at the top of the hill, there's a catch basin on an abutting property owner's land. That section is no wider probably, but at least it's flat and people have the ability to move over. There's a little bit more going on up there than convenience. There's a couple people that have already gone in the ditch. And it's no fault of the highway department. They're dealing with what they are dealing with as well, but constructive approach and suggestions, and perhaps a state rep that we all are paying for anyway to come review it, is a starting point. We've started this about 6 times, it's gone nowhere. So we're asking for suggestions. We're not civil engineers, but things have been done in worse situations. So,
And the other thing I'm gonna point out, just so everybody's aware, that the landowner is responsible for the water runoff from their property. Just so everybody's aware.
Okay. So,
Josh.
Just a question.
Yeah.
You need to get up.
yeah, please, just so we can see and hear you.
So everybody's in, so you can understand the perspective here. We're going on 20 years, actually, that we've discussed this road. Because 2001, there was a survey to all the residents, and everybody agreed something's got to be done. And it's very frustrating for us to see Hubbard Road get taken over and paved. 2 roads up on Huckle Hill taken over and paved, and we're still dealing with the same thing we've been dealing with for 20 years. So you can understand our frustration. Aside of, oil pans damaged and popped tires. But my question is, you're probably referring to Act 64, which is the new stormwater runoff law that the state has passed.
64, 50, yeah, I think it's
And-
64, yep.
They're phasing it in for Lake Champlain, which we think, well, we don't have anything to worry about that, but it's coming for every
It's
town.
here.
So
It's here.
am I wrong in saying that at some point in time, you're gonna have to inventory that road?
It's been inventoried.
And according to the hydraulic connection of that road on the state's website, there's already one area that's a high risk for washout. Now, it's not in this area, that's a moderate risk according to that map.
Mhm.
The high risk is at the other end, which I guess we're probably never gonna do anything with that. I mean, I guess we're just gonna wait until the road goes and we just keep dumping more material on there, which I think at some point in time, the state's probably gonna have a problem with that. Whether we have to deal with that at that point or not. But this section here is, as long as I've been there, it's been a problem. It's every year we get the thaw and it runs off, and that road's only 14 feet there. You can't, two vehicles can barely pass each other. I mean, there's gotta be something we can do to just widen it a little bit, whether it's do something with some drainage. I mean, is there a minimum thing we can do with pipe that will be okay with the state at this point, before we get into this thing down the road, and then you're talking such a huge expense, it's gonna cost the town even more money.
Anything over 5% grade, they want 8 to 12-inch rock put in the ditch. So there'll have to be big rock put in.
And there can't be any type of pipe or,
They don't, no, they want it to go back in. We started up further on West Road. We've started trying to, because we gotta be in compliance by 2021 or 24. I can't remember.
21, I think, is the date that I saw.
So much has to be done,
Yeah.
so we're trying to take big chunks.
And aside from the property issue, I think all of us that are dealing with this and have been are willing to say, look, just make some sort of improvement. To forget the fact that there's somebody that doesn't want anything done, or they want the road pushed so far it's never gonna happen. Can we at least fix part of it? The only issue that those of us at the far end are dealing with right now is there is a storm drain that really should be brought up about a foot, because it's got such a drop now.
That's,
If you hit
I
that.
don't want to tell you, but that's yours. That was put in when the development went in.
Okay, so we can do what we want with it.
Yeah,
Okay, good. Good, then
Yep.
we will be
Yep.
doing something with it. Okay.
yep, that's,
So as far as this stretch that we're talking about, which it's been since we did the last walkthrough that I've been on Sac Road for any reason, is putting the 8 to 12-inch stone a solution for that area?
yep. But they want it wider, so we'll have to go into the bank, see what we can do.
Okay.
Probably have to put a blanket up on the bank. We had to do that up on West Road, but
And that would be part of our compliance with the state to do that anyway.
Yep.
Okay. Chris, questions? I don't think so. Joe?
No, I didn't realize it's been an issue for almost 20 years. And, you know, again, aside, you know, the residents say aside from maybe some property issues, if it can piecemeal, just try to correct some of the worst parts of the road.
keep open.
Yeah. You gotta start somewhere.
Chief?
So I do have a question.
Hold on just one second, let me finish with you. You good, Chief?
I agree with Jeff that if we could just get some sections fixed, because I know that doing the whole thing through is just preventing anything from happening, so that seems like a good thing to do right now.
Come on up.
Why do we have to have approval from every property owner when you don't do that on any other road in town?
One person,
The
I
other
give up
roads
the
have
Appoint.
a right of way already. For some reason, that road was never laid out.
Really?
To the width and all that.
And Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, but the other roads that we just adopted, specifically Hemlock, it wasn't the town that paid to have that paved and, you know, all that kind of thing, the residents did.
Yeah,
And that did have a 50-foot right of way.
Yeah. So it's not, you know, we're not picking and choosing what to pave and what to take over. Those residents have come together and had everything in place and paid to pave their own road, and we took it over from there. Obviously, you're a town-maintained road already. You're just not a paved town-maintained road. And they weren't a town-maintained road at all until they met the requirements of the state. So,
Dave, with that section of road, and I mean, you obviously know exactly what section they're talking about, staying in compliance with the state, what exactly needs to happen up there?
We'll dig the bank back, try to make the road a little bit wider, move the ditch some, and put the stone in it.
And you guys that I mean, in your minds, that seems to be what needs to happen, and that's going to, at least for, we're just talking about this one section, I'm not talking about start to, yeah.
Right. I guess it depends on, Jade's more the expert on what can be done to prevent the seasonal runoff there. There's a lot of water. I mean, that whole field discharges into that road. It almost needs to be a retention basin above their driveway that discharges into the culvert. So, and then the position of the culvert that they have now is forward of where this ditch is gonna be. They're gonna dig into the bank, the culvert's out here. So it's all gotta be, I'd say we need to look at a proposal before anybody charges ahead.
Is that culvert our state?
No, it's theirs.
Yeah.
I believe the property owner of the bank gave verbal permission the last time we walked the road to do what needed to be done there, so that's a good starting point.
But to your point, the runoff is not the town's responsibility. Obviously, we'll want to help and make the situation better. So we need to.
Not just one side, they didn't widen on both sides.
Yeah, I don't know who owns on the other side and how far.
Bauer owns on both sides.
Bowers own on that side, and we own on the other side.
So
What I would like to know is, how wide does this road have to be? How wide does the right-of-way have to be by legal standards? Because it seems extremely wide and for what you need for the road that's there.
All the other roads we did, Franklin Road and all that, we got a 50-foot right-of-way. They were trying to establish all the roads having a 50-foot right-of-way. The last time, I'd have to get the map out and go back, but we had shortened it up.
And what, you know.
I want to say 40, but don't hold it to me.
So I do know that permission, as far as my son is concerned, and as far as I know what the Bowers are thinking, is that do what you have to do to widen the road, but we don't need to have the extension that it seemed to be where you put all the stakes. And I think that's, and then the not knowing exactly where the road's going to go was going to take a great deal of the field for my son on up towards where the road is already paved. You would put them, 20.
That was the right-of-way, but the other stakes were in closer for the road. I want to say it was 20 foot wide.
So how wide are you going to make the road when and if you were ever to do it? How wide is the actual road and the
Shoulders.
the ditches that you have to have?
Combined together, 20, 24, roughly 30 feet, roughly. That'd get you on the backside of the ditches.
All right, I think if you got, you're talking about rocks, getting some large, big rocks like this in the ditch as it comes off the field and goes down that ditch area, that would definitely slow the water down and not, there's at least 3 foot, and we're not worried about getting that dirt out, but it's just the continual erosion that we're getting. That road was eroded from, at least for me, at least 4 to 6 feet out from the ditch, because the ditch was full of ice and it had not been dug out. And I have, and on several occasions personally, gone and dug those ditches by hand. I know, and I couldn't go any further on that ditch during the midweek, and there were people that stopped and saw me digging because it was full of ice. And what makes me wonder is why we didn't have time to get to Sack Road when I saw the work being done and had been done on Monday of that week down by the Brown Farm. That was completely cleared.
That had been a problem all we started fighting that back in December.
Okay, so, and you know that is a big runoff off the field, and because you made us put in a special size culvert in our driveway larger than normal, because you knew of that runoff.
And everything, we opened another culvert on the other side of Brown Farm, and we, as far as I'm concerned, made a mistake. I had them open it too much. The water ran, it froze overnight, and it froze the culvert up. You still had what I thought was snowpack, but there was ice underneath.
Now, it
And
was
then after I
solid.
dug it out, if you notice, I didn't go all the way up to the culvert either, because I wanted to leave some so it wouldn't freeze up tight.
All right, but I mean, it not only was washing down the road and not going off to the side where it normally goes off, it was washing all the way down to the middle. And so we got even more. I mean, the ditches were, the erosion was as much as 12 inches deep at different points. And then when you dug out the ice and brought it over to the edge, it was covered over with dirt, and then it became soft, and people could drive on it, and they would sink right down. So I mean, that was another problem, and definitely something that could have caused some
Well,
an
when I
accident.
dug it out, I left some of the ice.
Well,
Then when we were out there, let go. But
right, but there was a lot of dirt that had been eroded for sure, and again heading into the hollow at the bottom of the hill there, and all on Matthews. I think even, and not only on the side going towards our house, but towards West Road was all eroded as well. And that was deep, and a lot of, not even a ditch dug for that to leave the road. It was just there to go down the road wherever it felt like. That seems to me, if you could do Browns at the beginning of the week, you knew the problem that was happening always on Sac Road. I don't know why we didn't have time for that. That was what kind of bothered me a little.
all right.
So we're gonna get this portion fixed with some rocks. When, can you give the folks any time frame of when you're gonna be able to do that?
I gotta get 2 other sections done first.
Okay.
They'll have to be this summer somehow.
It's passable now. I mean, the crisis is over for this season, so it's not like they've got things to do, obviously.
Yeah.
It's not urgent, but.
Well, we just wanna make sure that we all have a timeline that we can depend on, and, make sure that this particular section gets fixed at least.
Where that culvert is that they're talking about, if we go and fix this with the stone and do all of that, is that culvert going to remain effective after you do this, or are we just putting
Well,
something, is
We'll
this just?
probably have to move the culvert back,
Okay.
get it aligned.
Could we maybe have Dave go out and let us know what that project is gonna look like?
Yeah,
If the
absolutely.
project isn't gonna be until this summer. And that way we can share it with them and. make
Yeah,
sure-
if we can, I know we got some property maps and stuff like that of where you're gonna move the culverts and stuff and that kind of thing. So we'll try to, at some point this summer before Dave starts a project, have it on the agenda and do our best to let all you folks know about what the solution is and what it's gonna look like, so you can come attend the select board meeting where it's discussed. And so we can keep you in the loop of what's going on. We really do want to fix this. I know it's been an ongoing issue for a long time. I've only been on this board for 4 years, and I think it's been brought up twice in the 4 years. This is the 3rd time in the 4 years that I've been on some issue or another. If it's one thing that I can fix in the time that I'm the select board chair, I'd be really, really happy to do that for you. And I'm sure the select board would as well. So let's take this section and get it fixed, and we'll go from there. Yes, Scott?
One last thing, is it worth at all approaching the state to see if this section should be piped, only because the town, this runoff goes to that little wetlands area naturally anyway, so I understand their theory of letting it go back into the ground, but it's never going to. It's a seasonal shot to the wetlands. If they were to
It's like a
see the
raging
condition, they make themselves grant a variance to get the water from A to B, so they don't have to maintain trenches for eternity. I mean, riprap's gonna silt in eventually, and it's gonna get torn out every 3 to 5 years. Pipe won't, with the trap put in a catch basin. It's gonna go.
And it's funny you say that, because every 5 years, the state's gonna come inspect all the systems. So you know right where you're headed.
Right. So I'm just asking, maybe someone from from the state would look at it, at the specific condition, and grant a variance themselves and say, yes, this water's obviously going from there to there no matter what you do, and allow it to be piped, and it'll be 20 years before they have to do anything, if it's got a trap put in a basin.
In your opinion, would
We can try.
Might be worth
I know
a phone
they
call.
too lenient right now, so
Yeah.
all we can do is try.
They also don't want the wetlands silted in.
Yeah.
And it is. So,
so I guess when you're preparing the, whatever you're gonna
Get
do
a hold
out
of the
there,
state first,
if
see
you
what we
would,
can do.
please, and then
That'll be the first thing.
They want to come out and take a look and write a letter of recommendation and say, go pound sand, you're not putting pipe in because it's against the, what we're gonna do, or yeah, go ahead.
Yep.
I'm all for getting their 2 cents before we do anything.
Yep, I'll get a hold of him first.
Okay, sounds good. The second issue, Mike has asked that we take care of his $21 bill for his pop tire. We have a couple rocks in front of Gene that are the culprits of his popped tire out on Sac Road.
Is it inside your tire?
Well, it's just an example of the stone that
Yeah.
ended up puncturing one of the tires. My only concern is when you grade this year, if some of that stuff comes back up. We raked some of it off because there were pieces sticking up that looked like they were
We'll
gonna.
be running the rake over it right after.
Okay.
I went out there and raked it myself. It wasn't raked off.
No,
I
he's
know you
talk-
said that.
He's
but-
talking about when they do it.
Yeah.
but-
Right, when we do it.
Uh-huh.
That's the same that we put up on Broad Brook, Houghton Hill. It's not, it wasn't just Sac Road that got it.
I assumed we didn't order sharp rocks for Sac Road.
No.
Chris, thoughts on taking care of Mike's bill?
I don't have any.
Jeff?
It's not a large amount, but I guess I'm concerned about what kind of precedent this would set for the town. If this is something that the town has commonly done to pay for damages to vehicles, fine. But what about in the situation of this could have been much more serious and an accident? Would the town be liable for all the medical care and so forth? So I'm not really sure. I mean, I'd like to pay it, but I don't know what kind of precedent this sets. And if it's gonna, another situation, somebody's gonna say, hey, I ruined my car, the town has to buy me a new car.
Gene?
I agree.
And I will be the third that agrees to that. It is a very small amount, no doubt about it. And it is I don't know, it's almost a silly thing, but it does set a precedent. I know the town of Brattleboro years ago, because I tried to get a pop tire paid for by the town of Brattleboro. I don't know, I was probably in my 20s, I didn't have 2 nickels to rub together, just moved out here by myself. I moved out here when I was 19 by myself, left my family in the Midwest, and popped a tire. They told me if they got a second phone call from the same pothole, that they would pay for my tire to be fixed. I think since they don't pay for anything anymore, I believe, is the town of Brattleboro's new rule. Not that it matters what Brattleboro does, I'm just giving you the example. But I think it does set a precedence for us that, every time somebody gets a nail in their tire or a rock in their tire or something, if we take care of one, it's my opinion that we're gonna have to take care of all. And traditionally, we haven't done it. We don't have a policy towards fixing people's cars when they're damaged by the road that I saw. I went through our policy book and couldn't find anything, maybe simply because it just hasn't been brought up before. I don't know.
Is it safe to assume that the resident that ruined their oil pan a couple years ago, didn't follow through with it.
I don't recall
Because there was a
anything.
resident that lost their oil pan on this section of road we're talking about. And, you know, I don't know if they went to the town. I'm just curious if they,
Do you know how long ago it was?
probably 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay, so it might have been before my time, but if it was during my time, I don't recall it.
I don't remember anybody coming directly to select board with that issue, so.
Here's the thing, it's not the money.
And I understand that.
It's the principle of the thing. You see a small selection of the rocks, the whole road was filled with those. That's the point. I'm just asking, please don't put that kind of rock down again. I was on my way to the hospital to work, and my tire popped. And I'm like, seriously? I thought it was my fault until he got home and he lifted the car up and he's like, no, you had a rock in it. And then, so it's just frustrating. That's all. Please don't put those rocks down again. That's all I'm asking.
Just as a suggestion, next time maybe we could use screened 2-inch minus instead of crusher run, because the crusher run is that sharp aggregate, where if it's screened, they're round, and that you're not gonna have that issue.
There's not much screened around town, because they all run the crusher, that's the problem.
I know, or unfortunately, smaller stuff doesn't do what they want it to do. It's a,
No win situation, really.
it's a unique circumstance, but 2-inch minus crusher run is 8 or 10 ply tire. You gotta have commercial rig to drive on that stuff.
Well, the hope is it doesn't come to the surface to be a problem.
I know they're limited in materials, but
Yeah.
it's a,
Okay.
that's what's gonna happen with residential tires with that material.
So am I safe to say, board, that based on precedence, we are not going to cover Mr. Brooks's tire repair? Okay. Well, thank you very much, everybody from Sac Road, for attending. We're gonna get this section fixed and keep working for you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Road and bridge standards. Yeah, you might as well stay right here. Excuse me.
You
There's nothing in
guys
your packet on this, I gave that to you last week.
read it and send in whatever answers you have for it.
You had any?
To Mark, so he knows. I've already sent in my feelings
Okay.
about it, where I don't have a problem with the new rules and regulations, but the ones that are making them and enforcing them should have to do it themselves.
Wouldn't that be great if that's how the world worked?
Yeah, well,
So it'd be fair to say that this is one more issue that the state is telling local municipalities what we can and can't do. We're not able to solve our own problems in town to the way we want. We're dependent upon the state saying, you can't do it, you can do it. So it's very frustrating.
It's like the stormwater, you haven't seen them come down and walk any of their roads or do anything.
Yeah, it's very frustrating that the state is,
Mhm.
yeah.
And
Yeah, come on up. You can come sit with Dave if you want. No, just turn around, it's fine.
We put that same product, stone, up on West Road. We put it on Broadbrook. And if you was to go out there, there is a lot more traffic on Broadbrook than what there is on Shippey Road there.
Sac Road.
Sac Road, Shippey Road. We never had any trouble with that, you know.
Yep.
A lot of traffic up there. And they just pound it right to death, you know.
Yep. Yeah, it's an unfortunate thing. It happens to all of us at some point of our lives. We get a rock in our tire and it happens.
they're also going to include class 4 highways that were never involved before, and now all of a sudden the state thinks it's a big tear. Where it used to be just maintain them so people could get through, but now it's gonna be,
I suppose the state is not gonna provide much funding to the municipalities to do this, are they?
I would plan on it.
Do they supply every year less and less as far as transportation, as far as funding? I mean, you got to the point where you gotta fight for money?
In a way, yes,
Okay.
but we have to go TV. A few years
You don't
ago.
have to answer.
A few years ago, I was told, just keep putting in for money, just keep putting in for money.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know where we're headed.
Yeah.
Does anybody have, we all got that previously, do we have any questions, comments, concerns for Dave about that? Dave submitted his comments. I'm not a road or bridge expert, so I trust what Dave's suggestions were. Okay. All right, I think we're done with you. Thank you, sir. All right, energy coordinator. This is part of the is this the LEMP thing?
It
What is
comes up
this?
on a number of things. It's in our town plans.
Okay.
It is in the LEOP.
LEOP.
When we're applying for grants, it's coming up as who is your energy coordinator. So we're speaking with the planning commission when we were doing the town plan and that section of the plan. And the way that our town has written it and the planning commission agreed upon it, it's a fairly simple position. It's mostly disseminating information that comes to the town office, and I'd be more than willing to do whatever comes past my desk just to kind of keep pushing that out the door, posters, brochures, making sure if there's some opportunities for the public that Martin gets them and Tim can get them on Facebook and the webpage and that kind of thing. It's probably easier for me to just do it than hand it to somebody else.
Okay. Would someone like
I
to make a
move that we appoint Town Administrator Michelle Pong as Town Energy Coordinator.
Second.
Moved and seconded to appoint a town administrator as energy coordinator. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
All right, congratulations.
Yeah. One more name under your title. Approve capital plan expenditure for the library.
Change my hat to library director. And I actually have an updated quote. And there's also pictures of what we're doing, which I did not attach properly to my first email
This is
to me.
different than what's in the packet.
Yep, I'll explain.
Okay.
Actually, I do another one, because I made myself. Okay. The original quote had included using the services, the help of the highway department and the recreation department in moving the furniture. So our delivery costs would have been much less. The quote I just handed you has what they call white glove service, so that there would be people coming with the delivery to move the furniture inside. I did not realize that I erred in asking for help from other town employees. It was not my intention to have hidden expenses in this project. We started planning for this project actually in 2014, and it was a much larger project, there would have been a lot of moving around in the library. And we were encouraged at that point to enlist the help of other town employees with moving things around and such. So I was still functioning on that mode. But apparently now, I should not have been asking for help. However, part of my reasoning for asking is right in the employee policies. There's a section on multiple roles, and it states, in a small municipality, it's common for a town employee to be called upon at one time or another to perform work other than directly related to the position held. This is based upon reality and economics. Therefore, as a member of the team, a town employee may be required by a supervisor or department head to help other departments when the occasion presents itself, as it is all town work. So our bid is still below what was allotted to us in the town plan. I think we did pretty well. If you look at the page with the picture, you'll see the list price of the book bins. And the list price was like $2,720 each. The library is in a buying consortium, which is like throughout New England, and between that and just, you know, working with the company that's going to make them, the bins were offered at $1,689. So that's quite a difference, and that brought us below our $10,000 level, because otherwise we would have been well over. If you look at the pictures, I mean, we've been very excited to do this for the children. The books will no longer be on a shelf, standing, all tight together. They'll be actually in bins that the kids can kind of finger through and see them, because they always want to see what the books are, and that's what attracts them to them. So this way they'll be able to actually kind of finger through and see the cover of the books and, you know, make their selections instead of having them all just standing on a shelf where they can't really see what they are. So that is what we would like to do for our kiddos, and the capital plan committee and the board of trustees have approved this project. So I guess I need to find out what will actually be allowed, whether the board feels I can have the help of other town employees, or if that is just not allowed. It's about a $710 more for the project, hiring service to help move the furniture.
So the only additional aspect of this white glove delivery is to move the old furniture out of the way? In other words, the delivery itself is the same regardless of, no, what's additional from the white glove versus requesting help from?
The first quote, the delivery would be like, the furniture would be put on the tailgate of the truck and lowered to the ground, and they're done.
Right out here, yeah.
So
the only other thing is, for $700-800, they're gonna actually bring it into the building.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, when I was dealing with these people and, you know, we were trying to map out what we were gonna do, they said to me, well, can you get help moving it, because we can quote it this way, or, and, you know, that's what I pursued.
Chris?
And then what's happening with what's up there right now?
Well, there's metal shelving, and I will have to deal with that. Whether I put it out for sale, or if another town department wants it. Sometimes when we've removed things from the library, we've found another use. I mean, our old card catalog system is now in the town clerk's office, and they use it for filing their property cards and that. So, you know, it would either get put to another, the shelving could be taken by another department, or we can try to sell it. It's only 5 metal shelves, set, you know, bookcases type of thing.
Jeff? Anything more?
I guess I don't understand the issue about not being allowed to use town employees. I know several years ago, Seth Dio and perhaps Ian also helped out the highway department. You know, and I think it's important that as a town, that we try to work together and help each other in certain projects, and perhaps you'd be able to reciprocate, the library could reciprocate in some manner someday. So I'm not really sure is what the...
That was what I was told.
That was an email that came to me, just stop doing that. It came from me for 2 reasons. One, you didn't follow the policy that you just read. You didn't talk to their supervisor. Their supervisor's sitting right there. She never got a phone call. She never got an email to ask if those particular town departments could come help. So don't quote a policy you didn't follow, for one. 2, there is an additional expense to that. You're bringing 5 employees to the library away from their jobs, which obviously they have plenty to do. We talked about that tonight. So we're paying each one of those employees at their hourly wage for 2 hours worth of work or whatever this is gonna be. So the $700 is gonna get paid one way or the other. Whether it gets paid to this company, which takes away all liability of any of our guys getting hurt by moving this, or we're gonna pay them in wage and take them off of their day-to-day to do it. That was my reasoning behind it. The $700 is the $700. We're gonna pay it one way or the other as taxpayers. When we do capital programs like this and put stuff in the capital plan, that should cover the cost of the entire thing. That's the whole point of the capital plan. We shouldn't take here and then pull money from here or resources from here to eventually cover what that capital plan expense is. We have, like I said, the $700 is $700. It doesn't mean anything. Because we're gonna pay it to 5 employees to move stuff in, and we're gonna pay it to this company and reduce our liability of moving this stuff in. I totally understand the, you know, working together as a town and departments, but it's not saving us money by doing it. It's taking employees away from their current positions, and it's adding liability to the town for 5 employees to get hurt by moving bookshelves into the building, in my opinion. Just my opinion. I would rather pay them the $700 than our guys the $700 and have one of their guys get hurt moving heavy book equipment into the building. And again, the policy is to speak with their supervisor. Their supervisor was never spoken to.
Well,
So.
and on that issue, I've never really seen any protocol as to supervising. The department heads were not aware that that was how things should have been done. So there's been a lack of communication about that, because none of us were aware. I'm also a town employee, and that, it just never came across that that was a protocol.
Well, you're
So-
quoting a town policy where you know, because you're on the select board, and put your select board hat back on for a second. You know that Michelle is the supervisor specifically to the highway department and to the rec department because they're not they're not elected officials. They're employees. So Michelle's a supervisor. You understand that, correct?
I never did, till all this came up.
I
I did not understand that.
Okay. I think you're lying to me, but, okay, that's fine.
No, I am not
Unbelievable.
lying. I honestly did not know that. I tried with this
We had a-
project to do
I
everything
wasn't,
properly.
listen, I wasn't chair when Michelle came on board.
Neither was I, wasn't on the select board.
But, and it's okay to tell someone that you think you're lying to them. That's not a sin, it's not a crime, and it's okay. There's times that people probably think I'm lying to them.
I'm not sure.
And if they bring it out to me, that's fine. But, and maybe I shouldn't have said that, and I apologize for saying that, but that's what I believe. And you know that what I believe I say. Because when Michelle started here, she had to sit down with all the employees. And I think Chris Howe was a part of it as well. Like I said, I wasn't the select board chair at the time, so I have no idea exactly what happened. But it was explained to everybody that they now had a supervisor.
They,
Maybe you weren't part of it because you're
No.
the library and the library is separate and sometimes it's not and sometimes it is.
that may
But-
well be.
But everyone was aware that they had a supervisor and I'm sorry that you weren't aware, so maybe that's my fault and maybe I'll take back that I think you were lying to me if you weren't a part of that because you were the library. I
really
apologize.
didn't. And like I said
But-
to you in the email in the past, this is a whole new thing because we just communicate. I mean, I was
Yeah.
considered the department head. They ran their department.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not know there was somebody above them.
Okay. Well, we've known that for, I don't know, 3 years now. And as a select board member, I wish you would have known that. But that's fine. So all that being said, those are the reasons that I suggested that we utilize the capital plan for the capital plan to have these folks do the delivery. Like I said, the $700 is gonna come out of taxpayers' pocket through the capital plan, or it's gonna come out through these guys' hourly wage. And why not just have the company and take the liability away from the town, bring the stuff inside the library? That's all.
That's fine, because we're still under our limit.
Yeah,
on our capital
absolutely.
plan.
Absolutely, so that's why I'm not even sure why it was an issue or why all of this other stuff was brought up, because it's not an issue.
Because
I
I already gave
So-
you one quote and I changed it.
I got nothing. You got-
When was she appointed administrator? Because the town
When she
report
was
says
hired.
she's administrator assistant.
No.
When we voted on it, we voted on administrator assistant. Yes, we
She's
did.
the town administrator.
No. You
Michelle.
look, you go back and look, it says administrator assistant. When she was first hired.
Well, they can't be an assistant if there isn't any administrator, though.
Exactly. So.
So
figure
why
that
does
one out.
any of that matter, actually?
Because you're jumping down her throat because she didn't know that she was her supervisor.
That she's not her supervisor. She's not Jean's supervisor.
You just said that.
No,
No.
Yes, you did.
No,
No, it's the.
I didn't say that. Did I,
trustees.
Brana? Did I say that she
No,
was
we
Jean's?
trustees
Okay, thank you.
are the supervisor of
Wow.
the library director. The library is under a different budget, and it's by state law. And the trustees are the supervisors of the library director. The library director is a supervisor of her staff.
Thank you.
Because they're an elected board.
So my issue is that a policy was cited that the supervisor should be asked to be able to utilize you guys or the recreation department as the town employees that are not elected. Michelle is the highway department supervisor, the rec department supervisor, and she was never consulted about doing this project. I'm sure if she was, she would have just said, yeah, I'm sure it's not a problem. But don't quote a policy that you're not following. That was where my frustration came in.
But I
That's
can
all.
tell you that those department heads are not aware of that protocol.
And that's fine. They are now.
So if Seth calls us tomorrow because the pump at the pool's gone,
Mm-hmm.
we gotta clear it for her before we can go down with the backhoe to pull the pump out? I just wanna know so I'm not gonna get in trouble here. Because we've always, if Seth calls, somebody tries to get there to get that pool running.
And that's fine. Somebody should make Michelle aware of what's going on. That's what that policy says, is that the supervisor should be aware of what's going on. It's that simple. It doesn't have to be a 20-minute conversation about, okay, all three of us are going down and we're gonna bring the backhoe down and we're gonna do this. It could be an email, it could be a text message. It could happen after the fact if it's an emergency. It's just a simple policy. Beat it to death all you want,
Well, no, I'm just wondering.
but that is what the
'Cause
policy
I'll tell you right
says.
now, the way you acted to her, don't do it to me. That won't be a good clue.
And I apologize to her already. Thank you.
Can I just say something?
Go ahead.
I think what the policy is trying to protect, Dave, is in the case of if something happens to the pool, they want to make sure that you're aware of Seth asking Fred to help. So Seth wouldn't be able, as a department head, to go to Fred and say, can you come help me, without your permission. I think that's why that protection is really there, so that
That's not how, that's
you're
not how it
aware of
ever
it.
works. He's always called David.
And
David's
Even on
directed.
vacation, I just pass it on. Go do whatever you gotta do.
Right, I'm just
Yep.
clarifying that, I think
Yep.
that's really what the policy is making sure of.
Absolutely.
And there's two departments that needed to be consulted through, or at least made aware of through this particular program. And again, I'll say for the third time, Gene, I apologize. I did not know that you guys, as the library, weren't involved in the initial conversation with Michelle. But as a select board member, you are aware that she is the supervisor of those two departments.
I have become aware of that in recent days.
Okay, moving on. So let's approve this capital plan expenditure, however you guys want to do it. It's up to you. With the white glove service or with our town employees doing the work.
With the white glove, you're still under
Yeah,
budget
if
on
the
that.
project comes to 9,620, we have $10,000 in the capital plan.
So it's a difference of what, $700?
Yeah.
So I make a motion that we approve the expenditure out of the capital plan with, including the white glove delivery, so we are not risking injury to any of our town employees.
Second.
Moved and seconded to go with the higher quote for the library capital expenditure. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
I'm out of this. I'm recused. I'm out.
Okay. All set.
Thank you. for
And those
making
come
the
fully
change.
assembled, I should have asked prior.
They do.
Okay.
And I have agreed to get rid of the cartons and the pallets myself. That, I'm sure, would have been another charge.
Okay, we need to, we need to make a decision. We're gonna go into executive session to discuss a town administrator contract, and we need to make a decision whether we want to have Michelle in the room during that conversation or not. I leave that part in your hands before we start to talk about that.
In fairness, we should not, as we would not really do that for, I don't think we would invite anybody else for that conversation.
That's fine.
I agree.
Okay. So we will go.
Hear what he said.
Oh, I'm sorry, I said that
Yeah.
we should not, because we wouldn't extend that invitation to anybody else if we were gonna discuss it.
So go into executive session.
Yes, with just us.
Just, okay. All right, so, so it looks like I move that we go into executive session for the appointment, employment, or evaluation of a public officer or employee, 1 VSA 31338. I think that's the right one.
No, it's a contract discussion.
Oh, it's contract?
Yeah.
All right, take that back. Contract. 2 motions, oh.
Yeah.
So then I have to say, I move that we enter executive session to discuss town administrator contract.
Premature general public knowledge of the negotiation of the contract.
All right, okay. Let's try it again.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Okay, I've never done this before. I did it
Once
once.
you say them,
Okay,
and they're on tape.
You're doing awesome.
all right, so, let's try this one. I move to find that premature general public knowledge of contract, or town administrator contract will clearly place the town at substantial disadvantage by disclosing its negotiating strategy. That's the first motion.
So
You
she
missed
made the
it, didn't
motion.
you?
Let's
Figured it
get a
out fine,
second.
you missed it.
Moved and
sorry.
seconded to go into executive session.
We
All
usually
those
count on
in-
seeing
all those
it.
in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those
This
opposed?
is a 2-motion thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, we
Yeah,
had
do
to,
the
we
second.
passed that one.
Okay, then, I move that we enter executive session to discuss a town administrator contract under the provision of Title I, Section 313A1 of the Vermont statutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded to go into executive session based on Title 313. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, we are in executive session. Executive session at 8 o'clock, out at 8:31, no action was taken. Fireworks contract.
Oh, yeah.
So the fireworks, the town picnic committee has contracted with Atlas for $7,200 in fireworks. The current balance in that fund is $71,7526, I believe. So we have enough money to fund that contract. So we just need to make a motion to go forward with that contract, and I can sign it and get it back to Atlas.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to sign the Atlas contract for fireworks this year. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Do you have a copy of that?
Yeah, I thought I emailed it to you.
And that
Did I email it to you?
$7,100 is all left from last year donations that were directed specifically
Correct. I
towards
think-
fireworks. So
I
it's not
think-
like that money could have been used anywhere else anyway.
No, I think Cindy said,
Specified.
Cindy said $10 has come in. Yes, you have it. I was sent it to you on April 10th at 12:05 PM.
If that money had not been there, I would not have just.
Well, and then, of course, they got 6,000.
Yeah.
You know, so, just
But-
for fireworks,
Yes, so
that's it.
yeah, I think $10 has come in this year so far from donations based on Cindy's email to me. So the majority of it is from last year's funds
Yeah.
carried over.
$10.
Somebody made a $10 donation for fireworks. I think it might maybe be the little, did they have the little jar up there yet?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay, I don't know. So somebody give us $10.
I know.
That's all.
We talked about it, and I don't know where the.
So flex time policy, we're skipping self-governance resolution is in your packet. Excuse me. So Town of Vernon resolution in support of self-government pilot program, whereas Vernon is a Dillon's rule, Vermont is a Dillon's rule state limiting the autonomy of municipalities and their power to self-govern, and whereas Vernon, a municipality of the state of Vermont, values the proposition that residents have control over local governance, and whereas the Vermont League of Cities and Towns is working towards the promotion of self-governance through a pilot program designed to put self-governing ideals into practice. The Town of Vernon resolves to support the Vermont League of Cities and Towns proposal to the Vermont State Legislature to create a limited self-governance pilot program for Vermont municipalities. So we need to make a motion to sign that resolution.
I move that we sign town resolution in support of self-governing pilot project.
Second.
Moved and seconded to sign the self-governance resolution supporting the pilot project. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
I think that's the one VLCT thing that we've all supported.
Performance reviews, this will be an executive session.
Okay, so maybe that's the one I made before.
Yes, that would be the employee.
And this one will be with Michelle.
Yes, because we are not discussing her review.
I move that we go into executive session for evaluation of public officer and employee. Invite Michelle Pong in. 1 VSA 3133A3. How's that? Pretty bad. Absolutely perfect.
It works though.
Okay.
Second.
Moved and seconded to go into executive session for employee evaluations. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? We are in executive session at 8:35 p.m. We went into executive session at 8:35, out at 9:20 p.m. No action was taken. Public participation, non-agenda items. Yeah, everybody's gone. Correspondence and town admin report.
Okay, you have the correspondence, but in your correspondence, I do want to point out the letter from Basie Gossing McPhee. I have up there the entire packet that came with that letter. If you're interested in looking at, I didn't feel it was necessary to copy this whole thing, so I just wrote it down. The question I have is, do you want to file as interveners and continue to get more information on this? Because I need to do that by April 29th.
What is this for again? I'm sorry.
This is for the solar array.
Could I get
and-
all of those laminated, please?
This is for the solar array that is on West Road, or is proposed for West Road. Vernon? 500 kilowatts.
I think
And
for who?
you could do, but
Saluzni's pick.
Oh,
if
okay,
you want
yeah.
to,
You were up there,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
sidewalk, right?
yeah, I thought that was the best place to put it.
this will give you a good idea
All right.
of what it looks like. The size of it.
Yeah. I've been there.
So, and you're looking for us to decide whether to be interveners?
Yes.
I think it'd be responsible for us. What does everybody else think?
It's not gonna cost us any money, is it?
No.
All right.
We'll just get all the information that pertains to it, so we'll be on the correspondence
That way if we
through
get,
thread, so
Yeah,
we're making
yeah.
sure we get all of it.
Yeah, I should be aware of it.
if we get inquiries from people about their hayfields, we can answer questions.
Okay. And,
Would you like
the
to
other
see
thing
this over?
is,
Pretty.
That's nice.
I did get, I know that, you all approved a few meetings ago for me to just sign contracts for our basic contractors that are working around the town office. However, we had discussed, the landscaping on the sign and at the North School. And we did get, Heather Frost did ask to have her contract renewed. It is, she's only charging $275 a year for the next 3 years. Because you had brought it up before, I was just wanting to confirm.
What does that cover?
This is the landscaping and mulching of the 2 signs, the Welcome to Vernon signs, and the South School Museum area, the plantings and the watering the flowers and doing the mulching and weeding, that kind of thing.
It's a real thing.
But when we were discussing the budget on all of that, there was a much larger number associated with
This is for
landscaping
labor.
at the.
This
Okay.
doesn't include the supplies.
Okay.
That was mostly the
All right.
supplies, the $275.
Excuse me.
So I just, since it has been brought up, I just wanted permission to go ahead and sign that contract.
Yes.
So where do the supplies fit in? Refresh me.
We put them on the on the museum. There
Okay.
was, it was for mulch, flowers, and what, I think it was like $1,200 or something that we did.
Yeah, it was,
Oh, okay.
it was
quite
a
a bit.
decent number, yeah.
Yeah, and there's mulch, again, she plants flowers around the signs too, and that
Right.
gets new mulch every year. But for $275, I don't think we're gonna find anybody that's gonna be willing to do it, so. If you're all okay, I'll just go ahead with that.
Yep. Everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Just as an FYI, the town clerk's office will be closed tomorrow. They are both heading up north for a town clerk training. Vermont Yankee has been trying to figure out how to get us their diorama.
Yeah.
If we,
Love that.
if you allow me to accept that diorama, if we can figure out a way to get it into the lobby, because I don't know if it comes apart. Joe Lynch doesn't know if it comes apart.
Does everybody know what she's talking about?
Yeah,
Not totally.
it's huge.
So there's, when you walk into the Governor Hunt House, that side door, there's that big, like, table-looking thing that has the full-scale model of the plant, and it lights up
And it
and it does
lights
cool
up.
stuff.
I remember the lights now. It's good.
Yeah.
Cool.
We're attempting to procure that for the town.
So
just
how
to have-
are we gonna get it over here?
They're gonna bring it over.
They are, okay.
Oh yeah, we ain't bringing it
For
over.
free?
Yeah, for free.
You must dismantle because it'll never come through the door.
This
No white
remains
gloves
to be
for
seen. If we can't get it into
gloves,
a
no.
building,
Well, yeah,
the only
free
place
white
I can
gloves,
think of that we could get it
actually.
into is the museum, the big building.
We can get it in the
But
garage
we would
door.
have to ask the historians for permission to do that. So
So
we don't wanna take it if we have nowhere to put it.
Well, we can put it in the garage in the historian side, one way or the other.
Yeah, because do we want that in the lobby all the time?
That's up to you, that's why I'm bringing this to the board.
You could go to my garage.
I wanna play with it.
So should I keep moving forward with this project then?
Yes.
I think that's,
Yeah,
Because
Go
I
ahead.
thought you all
Yep.
wanted me to do that, so
I think it's an
that's-
important part of our history.
Sounds exciting.
Oh, yeah, okay, so historic preservation and.
Heck
all
yeah.
that.
Why
Okay.
not?
Okay,
And it's
um,
free.
And,
So is the.
the RFPs for
No, it's
the
not.
cleaning have gone out, and we are actually starting to get responses in already. So,
Good.
After the deadline, we'll put that on the agenda, and that's all of my.
Next regular board meeting is May 7th, so we have a couple of weeks off to do some of the homework we got. We are adjourned.